Brotherly Gaming! Games change the world, son. Games change the world.
Player selected. Begin.
Hey folks, welcome back to Final Notice Media and our next edition of Games That Change the World, or our world as we appreciate them. And for this edition, we will be talking about Mortal Kombat. Mortal
Kombat?
Who keeps...
Mortal Kombat!
A new player has entered the game. Fight. Get over here.
We have a special guest here. This is Steven. And Steven has been a long-time Mortal Kombat, I would say, fierce competitor and also nemesis of mine as we've been going through Mortal Kombat. So who was your favorite character out of the series?
I got a lot of favorite characters, but probably the one I represent the most, and I will for the rest of my life, was Scorpion.
Yes.
Easily.
Scorpion is the shit. I would say probably my favorite character, even though he is super campy, would be Stryker. I always loved Stryker with the pistol and being able to beat people with his baton.
The grenades.
And the grenades, all that crazy stuff. So we're going to go ahead and break down Mortal Kombat, how we feel that it changed the world or our worlds, because we super dig this game, and the effect that it had on the gaming industry.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Yep, sounds good. So we'll start it off with the very first Mortal Kombat that was released only in arcades, and it was in 1993, all the way back in the day. And it only had 7 characters, so it was a very basic game. And I recall playing it. I don't know if I played it immediately when it first came out, but I do recall playing the original Mortal Kombat on the arcade. And the game was super hyped, but it also did a lot of controversy. I believe it started something very specific in the gaming industry. Do you recall?
It's the ESRB.
Yeah, that's right, the ESRB, the age-specific content, because people were so scared of this game that it would affect their little children and turn them into monsters that they made them go ahead and actually put like the same ranking system that you would have on movies. So it's pretty crazy. It was really innovated. The company that designed the game, Midway Games, is the company that designed the game, and Ed Boon will forever be put in gaming history for the guy that basically made Mortal Kombat on his own. They have documentaries about how Mortal Kombat was made, and it is quite crazy. If you haven't come across any of them yet, and this is something that you're really into and you dig it, I would definitely look it on up.
I remember being a kid and seeing Mortal Kombat for the absolute first time and kind of being shocked by it with the blood and the gore that was involved in it, dismembering people. Seeing it, like, thinking that there had to be a curtain around this game because there's children, you know what I mean? There's children around here that are going to see this. And, and families, and they put that game in a lot of family environments in reality.
People were like, it's sitting on arcade games, it's in an arcade. And there's all sorts of people who are like, yeah, I remember that. People saying that, we need to put a curtain around this game because it'll damage the children's fragile minds. And it was crazy. And I don't, even though I think that's a whole load of BS, like, do you like killing people, Steven, in real life?
Not in real life.
No, I don't like killing people in real life either. And we are batting 1,000 on not killing people and playing all the Mortal Kombat games. But as much as I critique the people that think that, I can understand it too, because it was new and people, they didn't know how to interpret this. And even nowadays, that topic still comes up when certain things happen in society that, the games are ruining kids. And, if you look at the amount of people that play video games and the amount of people that would go out and do physical harm to somebody, it's just the percentages are so far off. There's no statistical value to that. But I can still understand it at the time, even all the way back in the day when you go to the original Doom. That game was crazy, right? But it was nowhere near as gory as 1993 Mortal Kombat. And the other fatality that comes to my mind is Sub-Zero ripping the guy's head off. and it's like straight Predator. He pulls his spine out when he rips his head off.
Yeah.
So it was crazy. It was a crazy game for its time, and I haven't played the original Mortal Kombat. I want to say in probably about 5 years. I do remember purchasing this little game system from like Target, or maybe I got it on Amazon, where it was like an original Nintendo, and it had a whole like 200 preloaded games on it. You know, they do those deals every once in a while.
Yeah, I have a
and
Sega like that.
one of the selling points was it had Mortal Kombat, and goddamn, that game is super hard to play.
Dude,
like it's. Yeah, playing it nowadays, I'm like, oh my god, like you just up, down, up, and just try to get that uppercut that does like 20% damage.
Dude,
That's crazy.
It's hard to play. It's
Yeah.
very slow and very sluggish. And when, like you said, when you get that uppercut, it's so satisfying.
Oh, it is.
The person just goes flying across the room, and there's blood everywhere.
Right?
And it was just great. And it was even better doing it in the arcade to actual people.
Yeah,
you know what I
when
mean?
you get strangers in the arcade and they all try to fight back when arcades were actually a thing.
When you had to put your quarter up to put your place in line,
Oh yeah, that was awesome. And so let's go ahead and move on to Mortal Kombat 2.
Mortal Kombat 2 was actually the very first one that I played. My brother had a Sega Genesis. It wasn't the Master System, so it only had the 3 buttons. And you had to press start to toggle to the high, like the high attacks, like the heavy hits. It was pretty difficult to play, but I still loved it, and I still played it all the time. Me and my brother played it constantly. Any time we had, we just played that one. So it's what got me into Mortal Kombat as a kid, and has, I guess you could say, continued my love of Mortal Kombat to this very day. You had it on Super Nintendo, which there was no blood. But there was a code to unlock.
You know what?
that.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. So in the console versions for the Nintendo, no blood. Yeah, and you actually had to unlock the blood with a code.
Yeah, you had to put in a cheat code to get the blood, because there was like, whenever you would hit someone with like a high attack, it was like this smoke with this dirt or mist that would come off the person. It was like dark gray in the palette color.
It's so sad.
It really
so
is.
sad.
It really is, because and that's owed to Mortal Kombat 1, you know, because of the violence and everything like that. So they didn't want blood. So then they had this smoke, and a lot of people were like, no, that's the blood. That's the blood. And there was a lot of people that actually surrounded the media of the game. So on the side of the cabinet, you had Johnny Cage, who was portrayed by Daniel Pesina. And Daniel Pesina was just Johnny Cage. Like, you didn't really know him, that he played a few of the other people like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but when you saw him without those things on, and he had those cool shades on, like the Bret Hart glasses, you know what I mean? And that Daniel Pesina was the face of Johnny Cage, and they actually used him as the poster child of just the early Mortal Kombats.
Yep. Yeah, but I remember that. Yeah, that was the face of Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm. And with Daniel Pesina being the face of Johnny Cage, during that time, a lot of people wanted to make what's called Mortal Kombat clones. So it was kind of anything that was violent, any good 2D fighter. And there was a game called Bloodstorm that had come out. And Daniel Pesina actually went to the photo shoot for Bloodstorm, and actually went as Johnny Cage, as the person that he was portrayed as for this game, to do a photo shoot for a completely different game, which isn't even around anymore. He sold out of Midway and everything like that to go do a photo shoot just to make more money, but in reality got nothing out of it.
What a creep.
The game that he posed for wasn't even good.
Yeah, what's the name of the game?
Bloodstorm.
Bloodstorm. Yeah, how many people have heard of Bloodstorm versus Mortal Kombat, you know? And it's crazy because, and it just shows that this is one of those games that controversy just kind of constantly surrounded. With the release of the first one, and then this happening with the second one, and having this jerk off go through and, you know, try to promote another game as a character from Mortal Kombat. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just it just shows that, you know, things like this can kind of bring out the worst in people at times, unfortunately, when it comes to just trying to make money. And it's too bad, because it's such a good game, and it's such a game that really change things. Like Steven said, people were making clones of Mortal Kombat because it was so new. No one's seen it before. You know, any other fighter that was out at the time was nowhere near as, I don't want to say complicated, because it didn't get complicated until a little later, but perceived the way that Mortal Kombat was. So
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Man, Daniel Pacino really messed up.
Yeah, he
Considering
did.
the fact that they went from a revolutionary game.
He could have been Johnny Cage forever.
He should have been Johnny Cage.
You know,
forever.
like, yeah, and he sold out, and now he's not Johnny Cage forever. Like, he could probably be rolling in some dough. He could have got some movie deals maybe and everything.
He's Johnny Cage who signed the paper that said, "To my biggest fan," but in reality, there was no big fans.
Nope.
There was no anybody.
Yep,
Man.
that's totally true.
With everything going on, like with him throwing his credibility away, the other thing also that helped Mortal Kombat 2 just become the better game and do better than the first game was the fact that they implemented quite a bit. You had stage fatalities,
Nope.
punching people into the spikes, punching them into the acid, seeing their skeleton come up from the acid and float to the top, seeing getting punched off the bridge into the and just hitting the ground and all the blood splattering out. And you also had friendships.
Oh yeah, that's right. They introduced the friendships in Mortal Kombat
Yep.
too.
My favorite friendship was the one from Scorpion. He reaches into his outfit and pulls out a toy of himself, and he holds it up and goes, "Bam!" And it says, "Buy a Scorpion doll." On the bottom. It's ridiculous.
Just trying to sell them toys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
It's ridiculous, but that also showed that Mortal Kombat wasn't always violence wasn't in mind.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff was just based on comedy too.
And that's a good point. Yeah, that it was like over the top comedy. Like everyone knows you're not gonna go and you're gonna get 8 gallons of blood out of it. You know, it was meant to be satire, and it shows how people can't take jokes sometimes. Bringing you to Mortal Kombat 3. This was released in 1995. It was originally released for the arcade again. But then at the end of the year in 1995, they ended up releasing it to the consoles that were available at that time. And so this Mortal Kombat 3 was very cool, and we're going to go ahead and just sum up, Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat Ultimate 3. Because they released 2 with them pretty close. So many more mechanics in it. They finally introduced combos where you could, hit X, X, Y, B, and it would do a specific combo to the character, which was so cool. They introduced running into it, so you could double tap and run forward or backwards. You had tons of new characters that were in it, to go to what number 2 had, to go all the way up to 15. This one I remember just being really epic because it introduced the robots into the Mortal Kombat, Cyrax and Sector. And those are 2 of my characters that I love playing as. They were so cool. And it just was something that it took Mortal Kombat from being like a shock factor game to being like a competitive style playing game. And it turned Mortal Kombat into the chess game of a fighting game, which all fighting games are intentionally meant to be. It was just so incredible, and they introduced combat codes, so you could either look up the combat codes and actually do half gravity or higher jumps or no blocks, or you could do like what everyone that I know did and just randomly push buttons and you get what you get. And sometimes you got stuff, and it was actually pretty cool.
All the face buttons, up, down, left, right, it's literally just whatever you can press, just press.
It made it fun. It made it really fun because sometimes someone would hit something and we'd be like, oh, what was that? What was that? It would like reverse the buttons. And you're like, oh no, how do we play?
But the funny thing is that when you're smashing all these buttons, and you have no idea what you're pressing, how can you possibly reverse it?
Yeah, and you never remember.
Motion,
I remember putting stuff in and getting something and be like, oh no, what I pushed? I don't know what I pushed. And
if blocks are disabled, you were just grabbed 24/7. There's absolutely nothing you could do.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Or you got uppercutted constantly. Man.
And then they also introduced the fatalities that were the animals.
The animalities.
Yeah, the animalities.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
So just one that pops into my head is Liu Kang turned into a dragon and he would bite the guy that he was fighting.
Bite him in half.
Yeah,
man.
and so all the characters had these, and it was super cool. There was a disappointment in Mortal Kombat 3. And it was that Scorpion was not in Mortal Kombat 3.
That's right, he wasn't, but Sub-Zero was.
But Sub-Zero was. What's up with that?
Man.
Yeah, it's shysty.
Honestly, Sub-Zero probably has my favorite animality because he turns into a penguin and chases the person off the screen. And that's his animality.
It's good. Yeah. and see, that's what's so good about this game is that it takes like the best qualities of like a gory R-rated comedy and it gets it into a game.
Yeah.
Like it was just so much fun. And so why don't you tell us about the next Mortal Kombat?
Well, actually, real quick, to touch back on Mortal Kombat 3 real fast.
Okay.
This was the first time you could actually play the bosses as playable characters.
That's right.
You had Shao Kahn. You had Goro, Motaro, Kintaro.
Yeah.
You could actually play those people, and that was an Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So that one was probably the most fully built one. You could actually play the bosses, the people you honestly could never play before. You could actually play it this time.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. Nightwolf was in it. Yeah, all the introduction of characters.
And Stryker.
Yes, that's right. And Stryker, my boy, was finally introduced in Mortal Kombat Ultimate. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, it was so good. And yeah, like we were saying, it was just the renovation of those old Mortal Kombat games into having your base model in 1 and 2 and then just expanding on it and making it something that became epic.
And compared to the other two, this one was actually mostly ported to console.
Yeah.
It shied away from the arcades. You didn't see it very much in arcades. There were still arcade machines, but it was more so on the console than the arcade. It's still the game to play now,
so
honestly.
Good. It still is the game to play. Shoot.
Up, man.
And then following the years after Mortal Kombat 3 and Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate, we had Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance and Mortal Kombat Deception. And so we'll kind of wrap those into one. It brought in Mortal Kombat to where it was more of a 3D style game. I remember you could sidestep.
Yeah.
They did introduce new characters, of course, into these games. And you started getting storylines as well. But I mean, to be completely honest, and some people aren't going to agree with me on this, and that's okay. But those were the two weaker games within all the Mortal Kombat games, to me anyway. But even though they were, not as good, they were kind of figuring out where they were at the time, and so that's kind of where I take it from there. But you got really good ads. You got the Crypt, which came into a big play later on. You had conquest modes where they introduced, storylines and actually playing a storyline with characters in the game. And I think that might be part of how they faulted is where they kind of wanted to go on like linear stories instead of having a competitive style fighting game. Yeah. And I think they realized that, okay, people aren't liking these as much. And so they went back to what they were doing. But in Mortal Kombat Deception, it was the first time that they introduced like skin movements in characters.
Oh, yeah.
So things would move that never moved before. And that became super well known in Mortal Kombat. That's like having these crazy female proportioned characters and these dudes that are just ripped to all hell, and just these complete over the top characters that really were almost a staple in Mortal Kombat for quite a few years. I mean, they have definitely toned it down a little bit in the newer ones, but man, back in the day, like all these fighters were like rocking 18 packs and like quadruple Fs, and it was just so funny. And it just like it shows to me how trolly Ed Boon is at Midway. It's like, no, you have a problem? Too bad. We're gonna make it even more ridiculous, and we're gonna make money doing it no matter what.
And within those games, I believe you can change your fighting style. You had 3 fighting styles.
You know what? That is a very good point to mention. Yes.
Everybody had a weapon.
Yeah, thank you, Steven. That's a good point. Yeah. Within, I believe it was Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, but in that game, every single character had 3 different fighting styles and a weapon. And I do remember that being quite a cool aspect into where all the fighting styles have different movesets, different combos. And so that was really cool. And that was pretty innovative, honestly, for its time, to go through and just have so much content in each character. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I can't think of any other game that did anything like that, to be honest.
No, I can't think of
That was
any.
the only one I could think of that only, you know, it had the different fighting styles also. And actually, fun fact for you, by this time, I believe Liu Kang was actually a 3-time winner of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Working on his next victory. He was, at this time, he was actually the most decorated champion in Mortal Kombat.
You heard it here, folks.
If it comes from me, it's not a lie.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
We are as reliable as Wikipedia, son.
Change my mind.
Change my mind. Dig it. With those 2 games, we'll move it along and we'll be talking about Mortal Kombat Armageddon for a little bit. It was released in 1996, and Mortal Kombat Armageddon had every single Mortal Kombat character that they made from the release in 1993. It had 63 characters, if I am remembering correctly. And so it was a massive, massive game. For me, that was the first game that I really started being involved in Mortal Kombat and wanting to play against people and having friends come over and be like, hey man, did you pick up Mortal Kombat Armageddon? All right, cool, let's get together and play. For me, that was the first game to where it got very social and you wanted to come in, you wanted to show off. And I think in part, not just because the mechanics were really good, but I think in part because of having all the characters. And I think that really played it well because they were just introducing characters and dropping characters. And like people had favorites because like Stryker's in less than half of the Mortal Kombat games.
You know what? Now that I think about it, how many games is he? I can think of 3, and
it might be 3.
That's
As
kind of
reliable
sad.
as Wikipedia.
That's kind of sad. Like only 3 games, but to touch on Armageddon, actually, I actually have never played that one at all. I've only seen videos on YouTube. That's how long it's been since I actually even bothered about that, because I was kind of going through the history of it one day.
It's so sad too that you never played that, because they had a lot of goofy aspects too. Like they completely ripped off Mario Kart, and they had like combat carts or something like that. And they had like a puzzle mode in it and things like that. So they introduced like these little mini games.
Puzzle mode?
Yeah.
As in they ripped off Street Fighter.
It was like
Puzzle Fighter.
Yeah, Puzzle Fighter
On the PlayStation.
Yes. So they like completely ripped off other games and just reskinned them into Mortal Kombat. And it was just so much fun. It kept up the trolly aspects of Mortal Kombat.
We're going to cut it right there, folks, and try to keep these videos mildly short for you. But in the next part 2 of Games That Change the World, we will be talking about Mortal Kombat versus DC Comics, Mortal Kombat 9, or known as regular old Mortal Kombat, and then Mortal Kombat XL. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We love you so much, and we appreciate you, and we hope you have a great day, a weekend, a week, a month, and even a year, because we care about you at Final Notice.
Is this recording?
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat as in
Shaka Seat!
Yeah.
I meant did a photo shoot. Damn it.
Okay, alright, ready?
Animalities. Yeah.
Oh!